The Father of King George III, Part 2. Frederick, Prince of Wales, embarked on a tumultuous path to marriage, motivated by financial gain rather than love. He manipulated and mistreated his young wife, Augusta, and used her as a tool in his conflicts with his parents, resulting in a series of absurd and cruel situations within the royal family. Despite the ongoing turmoil in his relationship with his parents, King George and Queen Caroline, the mid-1730s brought about a pressing matter for Frederick. As the heir to the British throne, he urgently needed to marry and start producing legitimate heirs, one unquestionably his own. In typical House of Hanover fashion, this endeavour turned into a spectacle. One might assume that arranging the marriage of the supposed future King of England would be straightforward. However, Frederick's part of matrimony was a calamity, largely due to his actions. Initially, Frederick's father was in negotiations for him to marry the daughter of the King of Prussia. However, royal marriage negotiations can be protracted, and Frederick, never known for his patience or maturity, grew tired of waiting. Defying his father's wishes, he sent his own envoy to Prussia to expedite the process, infuriating King George and effectively scuttling the entire arrangement. Well done, Frederick. But then again, he wasn't exactly motivated by the purest of intentions in pursuing marriage. Rather than seeking true love, Frederick had his sights set on a substantial dowry from his bride. His extravagant lifestyle had led him deep into gambling debts, and the Prince of Wales needed a financial bailout. When Lady Diana Spencer, one of the wealthiest women in England, emerged as a potential wife, Frederick eagerly seized the opportunity. Regrettably, the government and his parents did not share his enthusiasm, and Frederick was back to square one. This led to a particularly heartless turn of events. By 1736, Frederick, at the age of 29, had grown weary of the pursuit of both love and money, or rather, a wealthy spouse. When his parents proposed Princess Augusta of Saxe-Gotha, a 16-year-old German princess with minimal worldly experience, Frederick essentially conceded, stating that he would marry whomever they choose, as long as she brought enough money into the marriage. It was far from a fairy tale beginning, and would soon take a darker turn. Augusta arrived in England without knowing a word of English, leaving her with limited avenues of support beyond the German royal family. Furthermore, she had little time to get used to the idea, as her wedding to Frederick took place almost immediately in May 1736. This whirlwind introduction left her ill-prepared for what Frederick had in store for her. In the early months in England, Frederick's new wife, Augusta, appeared as a pitiful figure. The teenager's youth and naivety were on full display, with observers often seeing her through palace windows playing with her dolls. It was not a confident image for the new Princess of Wales, and Frederick's sister had to persuade Augusta to put away her toys to avoid further embarrassment. However, Frederick's counsel to his young wife was far from compassionate. During this period, Frederick severed ties with his former mistress Anne Vane and became involved with Lady Hamilton, another English aristocrat. Tragically for Frederick, his marriage to Augusta hindered his ability to see Lady Hamilton whenever he pleased. Additionally, rumours about their relationship circulated throughout the palace, making secret rendezvous more challenging. In the face of these challenges, Frederick hatched a devious plan. In one of the most callous manoeuvres ever recorded, Frederick exploited Augusta's innocence to resolve his affair with Lady Hamilton. He vehemently denied the truth of the rumours about him and Lady Hamilton to Augusta and convinced her to appoint Hamilton as lady-in-waiting. This, of course, gave him unrestricted access to his indisputable mistress away from prying eyes. In a distressing tale, and yet Frederick's most insidious betrayal was yet to come. As previously mentioned, Queen Caroline, Frederick's formidable mother, was a dominant figure, often taking the lead in her relationship with the king. However, Frederick, in his quest to do anything contrary to his parents, deliberately distanced himself from Augusta for the majority of their marriage. He vowed never to confide in her as his consort, but this didn't prevent him from making a sinister request of her. Frederick's parents may have hoped that marriage would temper his behaviour, or at the very least keep him from being a nuisance. Instead, it unleashed his darker tendencies. Realizing he could use Augusta as a pawn in his schemes, he instructed her to actively snub his parents, effectively deploying her as a frontline soldier in his petty family feud. The consequences of this manipulation were nothing short of absurd. Frederick's ingenuity in insulting his parents seemed boundless. At one point, he insisted that Augusta always arrive at the chapel after his mother, Queen Caroline. While this may appear to be a minor matter, it meant that the timid Augusta had to rudely push past Caroline every time to reach her own seat. When Caroline caught on and directed Augusta to use a different entrance, Frederick retaliated by instructing his wife to refuse to enter the chapel altogether if Caroline had arrived before her. Astounding as it may be, this was just the tip of the iceberg. Among all this turmoil, Frederick incessantly badgered his parents for money, even with Augusta's dowry. It was never enough. He would engage in almost physical altercations with his father over the necessity for Parliament to provide him with a larger allowance to sustain his vices, further deepening the rift between parent and son. However, Frederick was about to exact a significant revenge. Though initially naive, Augusta quickly adapted to the realities of married life. By 1737, she was expecting her first child with Frederick. It should have been a joyous time at the palace, but instead it triggered an unprecedented feud. Upon learning of Augusta's pregnancy, Queen Caroline reportedly insisted on being present at the birth, implying that the baby's legitimacy might be in question, and it was necessary royal supervision. Frederick, however, was not prepared to accept this, and his reaction was almost unbelievable. He forced his pregnant wife into an unbearable situation. In July 1737, Augusta went into labour. Instead of providing any assistance, Frederick immediately compelled her to hastily enter a carriage and endure a 1.5-hour journey, all while in labour, mind you, to the remote St. James's Palace. His motive? To thwart his mother's insistence on being present at the birth. The situation rapidly deteriorated from there. Upon their arrival at the palace, Frederick and Augusta shocked the skeleton crew of servants who were unprepared for guests, let alone a woman in labour. There was no suitable birthing bed or linens available, and consequently Augusta, in dire straits, gave birth to their daughter, little Princess Augusta, on a tablecloth. Yes, you heard that correctly. Nevertheless, the ordeal was far from over. Join me in part 3 to delve into King George III's father, Frederick, and how he experienced a bitter relationship with his mother, Queen Caroline, and was labelled a fool by her, leading to their irreparable estrangement. Frederick's actions, including propagating rumours of his father's death, resulted in his exile from the royal court, and his mother's death marked a turning point in his life as he underwent a transformation, eventually achieving a questionable reconciliation with his father before his unexpected death in 1751. His legacy was overshadowed by mental health struggles of his son, King George III. Remember, the stories of the past people shape our present and future. Keep exploring history, and I'll see you next time on Past People.